it's good to see you again. Having dealt with the subject of addiction from the life of Samson, I really did not have enough time to fully develop some things, and I wanted to take this extra time tonight to share with you from a practical standpoint just some of the things that I've learned over the years when addiction hits your family personally. Having been a pastor for 40 years, I've had to face that on numerous occasions. I know I come from a family that struggled with addiction in times past. My father had several sisters that either attempted suicide or succeeded at suicide. We've had alcohol and drug addiction on both sides of our family through the years, and some things that we've had to suffer through. But I'm thankful if you're one of the families of our church and you've never had a family member, either a parent or a child or sibling that's had to deal with addiction, then God bless you. That's wonderful. But I do know that many of ours families do. And so I want to give you these 7 just real practical tips about addiction. The first one is a reminder: you cannot change an addict. I know we want to. We love them. We want to fix them. We want to try to help them. But you can't do it. And you need to acknowledge going into it that you don't have any power. You can't say the right words. You can't be convincing enough to change somebody. And as long as you recognize that, as much as you love them, as much as you want to, as much as you're there to help them, just own up in the beginning: I cannot fix this person. I can't change them. The second thing that real practical, is a person is never going to change. No addict ever changes until he or she comes to the end of himself or herself. In other words, you have to hit bottom. I know a lot of times we come in and we step in with our ideas and we say, I'll help you in this way, or I'll do this for you, or how about going here, or why don't you talk to this person? And many times we do that. We sometimes send them to sheltered environments. Sometimes we send them to a counselor. But through the years, I've learned that unless that person hits bottom, unless they are so desperate that they realize I need help, not, oh, I'd like help, or I want to change, or it'd be good if I changed. I'm talking about I'm going to change or die. Most of the time, an addict has to hit bottom, has to come to the end of self before they can change. Number 3, shame, guilt, and fear are not very good motivation to change. I know sometimes we'll say things, don't you understand how this is destroying your family? Don't you understand how this is harming your children? Don't you understand that your marriage is going, and we try to guilt people into change. We try to let them see how much they're hurting others. And kind of what we talked about Samson, usually there's already that guilt and shame there. Usually there's already that hurt, that pain, that insecurity, already there in the life of the addict. And not to, you're not piling on, but if you start saying, hey, listen, shame on you. Why don't you want to change? Or don't you understand what you're doing to me? Don't you understand how you're affecting your family? As much as we think those might be ways to help them, and to be honest with you, we often say those things because we're so frustrated. We are just at the end of our own self. We don't know how to help them, and we see where their life is going. But throwing more shame, more guilt, it's not going to help them like you think it is. Number 4, understand that you're in a spiritual warfare in addiction. Now, I know that there are physical problems. I know there are emotional problems. I know there's mental issues with people who are struggling with addiction. But as believers, we can't forget we're in a battle with Satan here. We're in spiritual warfare, and therefore we better fortify ourselves spiritually. We better be in the scriptures ourselves. We better be praying ourselves. We better be putting on the whole armor of God ourselves. And you say, well, you know, the person I'm dealing with, my family member, my son or my daughter, they're not a believer. Don't make any mistake about it. They're still in spiritual warfare. Because rather than accepting the divine purpose for their lives, they've been enmeshed in the battle with Satan, that he's trying to destroy the purpose for which God made them. And so I remind you today, even though we might say, well, they need to go to this counselor, or they need this drug, or they need this facility, and we'll look at some of those things, ultimately, there's a spiritual battle going on, and you need to understand how to equip yourself for that spiritual battle. Number 5, this is a tough one, and I've got to admit, this is probably the hardest line in the world to draw. Love the addict without enabling the addict. And to be honest, I don't even know where that line is. Because if suppose you're dealing with an addict that it's your child or your grandchild, man, you want to try to help them. You don't want to turn your back upon them. And many times the addict will use guilt in your life. Well, you never did this. You took care. You liked this one better than that one. And they'll try to entrap you in an emotional squabble. They'll try to bring you in, to guilting you in, to helping them out. And we know this in our head, and it's easy for us to say it out loud. But the truth of the matter is, sometimes in our quest to help someone, we're not really helping them, we're enabling them. At that moment in time, when you're trying to ask yourself this question, is this helping or is this enabling? According to your makeup, you might lean one or two directions. I would advise you to seek counsel from other people in that time. Because trusted friends, spiritual advisors, to say, hey, listen, I want to do this, or I think I need to stop doing that, but I'm not sure if that's love or it's enabling. You go from, tough love to I feel like I got to help them, or they're going to die. And our minds and our emotions take over, and it's hard to know. But I challenge you, love the addict without enabling. Number 6, pray fervently, share truth, and get them help if possible. And we talked about them coming to the end of themselves, but if you can help them, if there's a facility, if there's a Christian home you can send them to, if you can, be in such prayer and truth yourself. And when I say share truth, we need to remind the addict of what the Bible says. And I know you can come across preachy, and you don't want to drive them away. I get all that. But truth is empowering. I ended the sermon on Samson by saying, you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So pray fervently, share truth, get them help if possible. And the last one is the 7th one is just some very practical advice. Confess your confess your past failure, but don't blame yourself for the person's addiction. Now, I want to repeat that one, because I'm telling you, this one will really come home to you. We talked about how the addict often has hurt in their lives from something in the past, and if you're a parent or a grandparent, the addict will often look at you and say, hey, you did this to me, and I can't believe you did it, and I'm the way that I am. You made me the way that I am. And they really lash out. But I remind you, listen, confess it to them. Say, listen, I didn't serve you good as a parent, or I really shouldn't have done that, and will you forgive me? And confess, but don't shoulder the blame. I want you to understand, the addict is responsible for himself. In the end, no matter what happened in the past, Every one of us can choose the right path or the wrong path. So these are some things that are just practical that God has taught me through the years, and I've used them with my own situations. I've used them in pastoring and those kind of things. And so I hope they'll be a help and blessing to you. We'll try to get them out in written form. You can watch them online again. But I just felt the need to share some practical advice on how to deal if addiction hits your family. I hope it'll be a blessing to you now. God bless you.